The woman stepped off the stagecoach, clutching a worn carpet bag, her green eyes carrying a weight that spoke of too many hard years. Thomas Mitchell watched from his porch, his coffee cooling in his hands. $2, that's what the marriage broker had charged for a bride who'd work the land and ask no questions. But as she turned toward his ranch house, the world tilted. 23 years dissolved like frost under a morning sun. Those eyes, that stubborn chin, they belonged to Sarah, his little sister, lost to Cherokee raiders when she was 7 and he was 15. His cup slipped, shattering on the porch boards. She froze at the sound, her gaze locking onto his across the dusty yard. Recognition flickered in her eyes, not joy, but something closer to terror. "No," she whispered, loud enough to carry. "This can't be." Thomas rose, legs unsteady, the marriage papers crinkling in his pocket. Papers bearing the name Sarah Coleman, the identity she'd taken after the raids. Papers that, as of this morning, made her his legal wife. "Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell," he said, voice barely crossing the space. She dropped her bag. "I go by Sarah Coleman now. Have for 16 years. The stagecoach driver cleared his throat. "This your place, ma'am?" "I got a schedule." Her eyes never left Thomas. "Yes," she said finally. "This is my place." The driver tipped his hat and climbed back onto his perch, leaving them with an impossible truth: brother and sister, husband and wife, bound by 2 signatures on a legal document. Thomas stepped off the porch, each footfall heavy. She didn't run, though her body screamed to. Instead, she squared her shoulders, the way she always had when facing fear. "We need to talk," he said. "No," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite trembling hands. "We need to disappear." Inside the cabin, they sat across the rough wooden table, the marriage certificate between them, its seal mocking their predicament. "The broker said you were from Kansas," Thomas said, searching her face for the girl he'd mourned. "Said your husband died of fever." "My husband did die." Sarah's voice held no warmth. "James Coleman was a good man. Found me half dead after the raids. His family took me in when the Cherokee traded me to a settlement. I never told them my real name." Thomas reached across, stopping short of her hand. "Sarah, I looked for you. 3 years, every territory, every settlement. I thought you were dead. Maybe it would have been better if I was." Her words struck like a blow. "Don't say that. You paid $2 for a wife, Thomas." Her laugh was bitter. "Do you know what that makes me? It makes you my sister. It makes me your legal wife." She lifted the certificate, hands shaking. "The broker knows. The territorial office has records. If we run, we'll have to explain. Tell the truth." Her green eyes flashed. "That you bought your sister as a mail-order bride? That'll be a fine story for the Sunday sermon." Thomas paced to the window. Outside, his cattle grazed, oblivious to the storm inside. He'd built this ranch from nothing, carrying the guilt of failing Sarah. "There's a way," he said. "There's only one way that doesn't end with us in prison or run out of the territory." Sarah folded the papers. "We honor the contract publicly. Privately, we figure out how to live with it." Hoofbeats interrupted them. Thomas peered out, blood chilling. "3 riders," he said. "One's wearing a badge." Sarah joined him, going rigid. "That's Marshal Hicks. The broker must have sent word about the marriage." "Is that bad?" Her face paled. "Thomas, James didn't die of fever. He was shot by his brother over a land deal. The marshal thinks I killed him. I ran before they could arrest me. The broker didn't ask questions, just took my money and found me a husband far from Kansas. If Hicks recognizes you." The riders stopped, dust swirling. Marshal Hicks dismounted, hand on his gun belt. 2 bounty hunters flanked him, their eyes hard. Mrs. Mitchell, Hicks called. Like to have a word. Thomas moved toward the door, but Sarah grabbed his sleeve. Let me handle this. I'm not letting you face this alone. You don't have a choice. She smoothed her dress, stepping onto the porch. Thomas watched through the window as she transformed, posture shifting, voice softening. Marshal Hicks, she said warmly. What brings you out here? Routine check, ma'am. Territorial office sent word about your marriage. Making sure it's legitimate. A bounty hunter leaned forward. She matches the description, Marshal. Same height, same hair. Thomas's hand drifted to the rifle above the mantel. Sarah laughed, the sound easy. Description. Gentlemen, you have me at a disadvantage. Hicks pulled a paper from his vest. Sarah Coleman, wanted for questioning in the death of James Coleman in Wichita. Know anything about that? I'm Sarah Mitchell now, she said steadily. Never been to Wichita. The lie was smooth, but Thomas saw the tension in her shoulders, the tremor in her hands clasped behind her back. Mind if we come inside? Hicks asked. Of course not. Sarah gestured them in. My husband's inside. He can vouch for me. The cabin felt cramped with 5 people. Hicks removed his hat, scanning the room. The bounty hunters flanked the door. Thomas stood by the fireplace, the rifle within reach. Nice place, Hicks said. How long you been married? This morning, Thomas replied, voice steady. Sarah came on the afternoon stage. Whirlwind romance, Hicks said, studying Sarah. Stage driver said the lady didn't seem pleased to arrive. Sarah slipped her hand into Thomas's, the touch a jolt of shared history. Pre-wedding nerves, she said, smiling shyly. I'd only seen my husband in a photograph. What did you expect? Hicks asked. Sarah's fingers tightened on Thomas's, a silent plea to trust her. Someone harder, she said softly, looking at him. Someone who wouldn't understand needing a fresh start. Thomas noticed a scar on her temple, new since childhood. How many other marks did she carry from the years he'd failed her? Fresh start, Hicks repeated. The past has a way of catching up. A bounty hunter stepped forward. Ma'am, roll up your sleeves. Sarah's hand went to her left wrist. I beg your pardon. Sarah Coleman has a crescent-shaped birthmark here. He tapped his wrist. Thomas remembered that birthmark, kissing it when Sarah scraped her arm, tracing it with their mother. I'm not Sarah Coleman, she said firmly. I don't appreciate being treated like a criminal. Just roll up the sleeve, the bounty hunter pressed. Sarah nodded slightly, the same stubborn gesture from childhood. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing the crescent birthmark. Hicks reached for his handcuffs. Sarah Coleman, you're under. Wait, Thomas stepped between them. Marshal, she's my sister. The words hung heavy. Hicks froze, handcuffs halfway out. The bounty hunters exchanged glances. Come again. Hicks said. Thomas retrieved a wooden box from his trunk, pulling out a daguerreotype from 1851, their family portrait. He handed it to Hicks. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, taken by Cherokee raiders in 1854. I've been looking for her since. I didn't know who she was when I arranged the marriage. Hicks studied the photograph, then Sarah's face. The resemblance was undeniable, same eyes, same chin. This doesn't change she's wanted for murder, a bounty hunter said. Self-defense, Sarah said quietly. James's brother, Frank, shot him over a land deal. I ran because no one would believe me over a Coleman. They own half of Wichita. Hicks looked at the photograph again. You swear she's your sister? On our parents' graves. Hicks was silent, then spoke thoughtfully. Family makes people do strange things, like a brother marrying his sister by accident. He tucked the photograph into his vest. Funny how witnesses remember things differently when asked the right questions. He looked at the bounty hunters. Boys, we made a mistake. She doesn't match the description. But the birthmark. Lots of people have birthmarks. Crix's tone ended the argument. We're heading back to town. After they left, Thomas and Sarah sat in silence as the sun set. We can't stay married, Sarah said. I know. But we can't disappear either. People will talk. She nodded. I could be your housekeeper, your widowed sister-in-law, come to help after her husband died. Sarah Coleman Mitchell, recently widowed, Thomas said. It could work. It'll have to. Years later, Sarah, old and gray, told stories to her grandchildren, Thomas's children, born to the schoolteacher he married. That afternoon taught her about family. Sometimes love means sacrificing everything, even reputation, to protect someone. Sometimes coming home means forgiving the past. And sometimes, $2 buys not a wife, but a sister's life. The cabin glowed gold in the evening light as Thomas stoked the fire. Sarah began crafting their new story, the one they'd tell the world, and the one they'd live in the quiet spaces between words. Outside, the wind carried only the lowing of cattle and the promise of a hard-won future.